Hello and welcome to kind of a special Monday musing. Had a bit of a technical hiccup this weekend, so we didn't get our Genestealer cult review up. All sorts of problems with our internet. I'm not going to go into it. Planned to try and do it on Sunday night. Went wrong again, so here I am. It's Monday. We're here. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Everything's good. If one of the lovely people in the chat can just say everything's good and fine, we'll get started with the show, really. You know, what I'll do, normally I spend a bit of time on a Monday musing going through the chat and saying hi to everyone. But because really this is focused on the Genestealer cult review, what I'm going to do is get on with talking about that for a bit. And once we've got that out of the way, maybe catch up on the chat and say hi to some of the regulars and all the rest. So how about that? What I have done, got old Coleman saying we can hear you. What I have done is something a little bit different with this review. Given that people have already seen the reviews, I approached a YouTube group. So these wonderful people here, Facebook group rather. This is the Genestealer Cult Facebook group. It's a closed group, but you can kind of apply to have access to it. Absolutely brilliant community in there. Loads of really cool sort of projects. People are posting up all what they're doing on Genestealer Cult. A lot of conversions and funky paint schemes and all the rest. So what I did was reach out to these wonderful people and say, hey there, I know I'm late to the game, but is there anything out there that you don't feel has been covered yet? And if there is, drop me a comment below and I will do my best to cover it. So there we are. That's what I've got today. I think I've got about 20, 30, 40 questions, something like that. And hopefully plenty of time to go through them all. But one slight problem, I'm going to have to grab some technology because I did print out my questions and guess what happened? The printer ran out of ink. So there you go. Oh, could you possibly up the volume by any chance? I will do that. How about that? Is that better? Is that better? Any better? Is everybody okay? Maybe I should talk louder. There you go. My wonderful assistant has just brought all my questions to me. Thank goodness. Show saved. And now the dog's got in here. Right. What I'm going to do is work through all of these comments on the wonderful Facebook group and click my way through some of this stuff. Let's just have a quick look at that. There you go. I've got the book in front of me. We're going to show some of the pages. I think there's a lot of the content out there, so I'm not too cautious about people seeing pages and some of the points lists and stuff like that. But obviously, usual restrictions apply. There's only kind of so much they ask us to go through. They don't ask us to do a page by page, and I kind of stick to that rule. So that was indeed one of the questions from the group. There you go. Right, let's get into this. What I'm going to do is start with some of the questions and then start looking at the book. How about that? I'll tell you what, let's do that and you can see me as well. So first things first, we've got Theo. Most interested in new artworks will there be in it, as I'm looking for new paint schemes and ones that work with my vehicle. So there you go. Well, there is a bunch of artwork. I'm quite happy to do some page jumping to see if there's anything in there. Some of it's new, some of it's not. You know, no huge surprise there. Let me just try and angle that so you don't get the light reflecting off the pages. Wonderful Games Workshop and their lovely shiny pages, but there is some cute artwork in here, definitely, but most of it is kind of combat scenes, you know, and like I say, some of the artwork we've already seen before. So it's all very, very beautiful. It's all very nice, and we'll be looking at a few pages anyway and going backwards and forwards through some of the book, so you can see some of that artwork. Woohoo. Of course I will be showing it right behind where I am at the moment, so how about that? Just get rid of me for a second. There you go. Again, some very cool stuff. They tend with the artwork, of course, to stick to the standard scheme anyway, but there is some nice stuff in terms of the use of different colours here. I'm purple blue colourblind, so I assume that's purple. Kind of looks pink to me. One question that came up repeatedly in the chat is, why not the new Magus on the artwork? The new Magus model is indeed fantastic. It's absolutely wonderful. Really love it. But no, they've used the existing artwork. I can kind of understand that, really. It's a great piece of artwork. There was only the 7th edition Codex out before we went into the Index, so it's not like it's been around forever. But, you know, it would have been nice to see some new artwork, but hey-ho. Right, what else have we got? Metamorphs. Any change, if any. Well, they are in there. Let me just jump this off. So because I'm going to flip to pages that you know, obviously have stats on and stuff, which, like I say, I'm happy to show some of them, but I just don't want to make sure by flipping through the book I won't accidentally expose everything. So can I just say again, this is fully aware that there's already several reviews out going right from front to back of the book. So really this is about answering the people's questions from that group. And hopefully if you've watched all the other review videos and then these people are saying to me, but nobody really covered that, then hopefully there'll be some new information in there for you. So right, what I do have on the Metamorphs going through it was not much of a difference, to be honest, in terms of the actual stats, but it's typical, isn't it? The one quote the one question I didn't write the page number down. I'm going to stop flipping the page because I do know. I think one of the changes, and I've not double checked whether that is covered under whether that is covered under the you know what it is, index to codex. So the big thing, hand flamers was D3, now D6, so it's pistol D6 for the hand flamer. The metamorph claw is now -1 AP, as opposed to just being no AP, and the talon has 2 benefits now to it. Before it was just add 1 to hit, but now also you get an additional attack when you use the talon. So the talon gives you +1 attack and +1 to hit. By the way, that's my airbrush compressor kicking in. Yet again, I forgot to switch it off just before I show. It will stop pumping air in about 10 seconds, something like that. Frank Storm says, don't worry, all the stats have been revealed already. Good point, good point. So I'll tell you what, let's, seeing as though all the stats have been revealed already, we can actually bring up the Acolyte, the Hybrid Metamorphs page. Why not? So there we go. Here we go. So this is what I'm talking about here. As you can see, we've got pistol D6 for the Amflamer, and indeed the claw now with a -1 AP, and this additional expanded rule here that each time the bearer fights, you can make 1 additional attack with this weapon, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with this weapon. So there you go. Some changes there. Nothing huge, sort of, you know. It depends how many of those metamorph talons you're going to stick in the unit. If I remember rightly, I'm sure the talon is no, it's not limited. Any model may replace the metamorph talon with etc, etc, etc. So you are getting that +1 attack, which is pretty cool. That moves them from 3 attacks to 4 attacks. Rowan Armitage says relics, and that was seconded by Daniel Glover and Matt Waters. Thirded indeed. So something about the relics. Okay, so I'm not going to bring up the full page for this, but let's go and have a look at the relics. I've got page 116, so when you've got your book in front of you, you can jump backwards and forwards to this. We have the relics. So there are 2 pages worth of relics. We've got the icon of the Cult Ascendant, which essentially is add 1 to strength characteristics for friendly infantry and bikers, whilst they're within 6 inches of the bearer. So this is a relic that you can give to the icon ward. There's the Sword of the Void's Eye. And this is any model with bone sword only. Bear in mind that obviously relics have to be given to a character, but models with bone sword only, it replaces the bone sword, essentially gives you +2 strength, -3 AP, D3 damage. This is the beauty, you can re-roll hits and wounds for the weapon. Awesome, I really like that. We've got an Amulet of the Void Worm, add 1 to saving throws for the bearer against ranged weapons. In addition, enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at the bearer. You've got to like that, surely. You've got to like that. Excuse me. Scourge of the Distant Stars. Add 1 to hit rolls and attacks made for the bearer's melee weapons. In addition, each time an enemy model targets the bearer with a melee weapon, your opponent rolls an unmodified hit roll of 1. The attacker's unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all of its attacks have been resolved. So, you know, I'm still on page 1. Like I say, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 relics to choose from. Just checking I'm not just streaming all of these out on the internet. There's a great one called Oppressor's Bane. I really like this. So this is a pistol essentially. So any model with an auto pistol or Liberator auto stub only. Oppressor's Bane replaces the bearer's auto pistol with one of their Liberator auto stubs and has the following oppressing, or one of the auto stubs. This is a 12-inch range, pistol 3, strength 4, -2 AP, 2 damage. The weapon can target enemy characters, even if they're not the closest enemy unit. Can reroll wounds for attacks made with this weapon when targeting characters. So you've got reroll wounds, being able to target. Okay, it's 12-inch, so it's up close, but it's pistol, and it's pistol 3. I think it's pretty cute. Crikey. I don't, like I said, I suppose I don't want to cover all of these. We've got Gift from Beyond. The model with the Jackal sniper rifle or silent sniper rifle only. Add 2 to wound rolls for attacks made with this model's sniper rifle. Yeah, you know, unless targeting a vehicle or Titanic, but that's fairly standard for sniper rules. But you know, if we were to jump along to say, excuse me, the Jackal. You can never find these things when you just try and flip through them quickly, can you? It's just the way it goes every time. Here we go. So we've got the Alpha's Jackal, who's already wounding. Well, you know, we've got hitting on 2s. We've got, yeah, hitting on 2s. And when with the sniper rifle, you are essentially, if you roll a wound of a 6, it inflicts 1 mortal wound. So you're getting the bonus. Yeah. Trying to see, of course, this is a heavy one, isn't it? Sniper, so it's strength 4 basically. So you're getting +2 to hit on that, which I think is pretty cool. Pretty cool. I've got a question coming through. Is what is my impression of the Codex so far? Yeah, you know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Age of Sigmar Gits. It's definitely, when you take into, and we'll come on to this, the deployment with all the blips. It's definitely a tactician's codex, I think. They are, you know, of course, you know, relatively glass hammers. These things don't hit that hard. Well, okay, they hit hard, but they don't hang around that long. It's all about your deployment. It's all about the tactics you employ in that sort of striking early and, you know, that fluidic deployment. So it's really impossible to counter where your units are going to be. You know, I think that kind of blip deployment is a real challenge. So just in terms of bending your own head around it, it's okay to say I'm going to put all the blips down, but then you have to make a decision where the unit goes. And I think you could do that and kind of skip where the blips deploy. You still need to take advantage of scenery, etc., etc. You need to be thinking, you know, if an infantry unit's there, can it gain cover? If a vehicle is there, can it still gain cover? And can I deploy closely enough within that blip? So, yeah, it's not without its challenges. It's still way more of an advantage to you that your opponent has no idea where your units are going, as opposed to a disadvantage to you. And that's what I'm saying. It'd be crazy to describe it as a disadvantage. I'm just saying it creates a tactical challenge to bend your head around it when it comes to deployment. Okay, I am going to quickly move on to some of the other questions. Right, James H. Martinez says, Genestealer tactics, since a lot of people are butthurt about the fact they don't get traits. I just want it to end low. We'll come back to that, if that's okay, because I think that's for a kind of discussion when I've got through these questions. I'd like to spend probably 20 minutes, half an hour, and just churn through the questions where I can give a yes or no to some of these answers that people are asking for. Richard Corsa Wallace says, can you use Basilisk Punishers Executioner tanks? The quick answer to that is yes, as long as they have the Astra Militarum keyword. I mean, that's how the rule applies. Over on page 108, if I can find it, we have this description of how the cult creeds work, and along with that we have the Brood Brothers rule, which is an extensive rule set, so it's not to be taken lightly. You know, several Genestealer cult units have the Brood Brother keyword. And I've got some questions which refer to this later, which is all about how the Brood Brothers interact with cult units and the rest. But in essence, In addition, to represent Astra-Militarum forces that have been Militarum forces that have been subverted, you can include Astra-Militarum units and Genestealer cult units in the same match play army, even though the units do not have the faction keyword in common. In such cases, ignore the AM keyword when choosing your army's faction. If it's Battleforge, you can only include one AM detachment, one in which every unit has the AM keyword, so you've got to have that Astra-Militarum keyword in your army for each cult detachment. So it's got to be a 1-for-1. You've got to have a cult detachment, you've got to have an Astra-Militarum detachment, you know, and if you want to bring 2 of those, then you're going to need 2 cult detachments, so it's that 1-for-1 rule, and simultaneously every unit within that detachment needs to have the Astra-Militarum keyword. What that means, for instance, so I'm a big fan of the Forge World Arvis Lighter, and that is in the Forge World Index, and it does indeed have the Astra-Militarum keyword. So for the purposes of this, it says, you know, you replace the keyword with Brood Brother. That's cool. I do have one question that I've not really encountered the answer to, so if there's anybody out there on the chat that can give me this. The whilst the flyer inherits the Brood Brother keyword, its reference to what it can transport refers to Astra-Militarum units. You know, common sense dictates that means it can essentially transport Brood Brother units, obviously not the Genestealer cult units. But you know, that's a reference to a keyword and not a keyword. Yeah, anyway, I'd like to know your thoughts on that. I think it's fairly straightforward, but it probably would be nice to see that confirmed somewhere. What else have we got? Okay, right. We've also got Anders Van. Some interesting combos ideas that you get from the book. What will you think of will work efficiently? Again, thank you for that. I'll come back to that when I've clocked off some of the straightforward questions. Simon Key says, ruling on Brood Brother detachments and allies. Basically, can I use my Beyblade Combine Harvester? Back to that point, yes, as long as it's got the Astra-Militarum keyword, which I'm pretty certain the Beyblade has. There is actually, if you just give me a second, there is one exception to that. So I'm just going to do this and pull that page up a second. So let's just go to that again. Sorry about this. I've just remembered there is a detachment somewhere. Oh, sorry, an exception somewhere. But you know what? I don't think I'm going to find it easy. It was something about saying the detachment can't be a specialist detachment as well. Yes, there it is. Astra-Militarum named characters in it. So, you cannot include Astra-Militarum named characters in these detachments, and these detachments cannot be specialist detachments. So, bear that in mind if you're trying to squeeze a Baneblade in and along with a bunch of other stuff. If it's applicable within the specialist detachment, you're going to struggle. To be honest, I don't know the AM Codex enough to understand whether that would be an issue or not. So again, let me know. Yay, Agricult. I really like the fact, by the way, you've got a combine harvesting Baneblade. That is awesome. I've been working on my heavy rock grinder, as I call it, which is my Lehman Russ conversion, which I think there's some photos up on that very same wonderful Facebook group as well. So check those out. Nathan says, oh, I've moved on too much. Simon says, also interested in Brood Brothers as well. Verify that our Astra-Militarum Brood Brothers can be given basic orders and new basic stratagems. Back to that rule again. I should stop moving off the page, really. Okay, so it's fairly straightforward. I think that's pretty much no. Let me double check on the page, but what I mean by that is there are restrictions to what Brood Brothers can gain. So, for instance, Brood Brother detachments do not gain any of the detachment's abilities from Codex Astra-Militarum, such as regimental doctrines, nor can they use any regiment-specific stratagems, orders, etc. Furthermore, infantry models in Brood Brother detachments increase their leadership characteristics by 1, and they gain the unquestioning loyalty ability, which is really, really useful. If you don't know what that is, essentially that's the ability to throw yourself in front of a bus for your wonderful cult leaders. Whatever limitations, units, detachments do not gain the cult ambush ability. Your warlord cannot be from the Brood Brothers detachment, and you cannot give any relics to Brood Brother characters. In addition, the command benefit of all Brood Brother detachments, including your army, in this way are halved, rounding up. This reflects such detachments are not a Genestealer cult primary fighting force. So they're letting you do it, which I think is brilliant. They're also really limiting, if you like, the competitive edge that would give you, which again I don't mind, because you know there's so much now in the Genestealer Cult Codex in terms of units. I don't think we can complain, can we really? Okay, well, we're not doing too bad. We're 25% through of the pages, so hopefully I'm doing okay. How are we doing? Right, okay. Oh, did I miss one? Nathan G says, I'm just curious on 2 points. Can the cult Lehman Russ, not in an Astra Militarum detachment, take the Demolisher cannon? The quick answer to that is no. I'm just going to double check, because these were all done in the few seconds prior to going live. So let me just double check that for you, but I'm pretty certain the Demolisher was not one of the list. But what I will do is give you the full list of weapons that you can do. You have Battle Cannon, Eradicator, Nova Cannon, Exterminator, Auto Cannon, Heavy Bolter, Heavy Flamer, Heavy Slewer, Hunter Killers, Las Cannon, Multi-Melter, Plasma Cannon, Standard and Supercharged, but that's just a shooting option, Storm Bolter and Vanquisher Battle Cannon. So this model may replace its Battle Cannon with Eradicator Nova and Exterminator Auto Cannon, or the Vanquisher Battle Cannon. So the Demolisher is not in there. I'm not surprised by that, because I think, if I remember rightly from my days in when I used to fight against Astra Militarum, at least, the Demolish is essentially a separate tank, isn't it? It's got its own listing. Could be wrong, but I think it's got its own listing. And by the way, I could be referring to 6th, 7th or 8th edition, or any of those in between. Okay, 1. Does unquestioning loyalty work? So that after you have taken a wounding hit, but before you roll the damage, you can roll, and on a 4+, you kill an infantry model from a unit within 3 inch. So, okay, it's a little bit, it's not strange, but it works differently between a standard hit and a mortal wound, and you need to be aware of the difference. So let's just go over this again. This is unquestioning loyalty, just as a reminder. So each time you fail a saving throw for a character model, or your character suffers a mortal wound, before inflicting the damage, check to see if it's within 3 inch of an enemy Brood Brother unit. If it is, you can select one of those units and roll a d6, and on a 4-up, do not inflict any damage on the character, but one model in the selected unit, your choice, is slain. Otherwise, the character suffers damage as normal. So, absolutely, if you fail a saving throw, and it does 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage, then you essentially, you roll your save. Rather than applying the damage, you select one unit, you roll a d6, on the 4-up, you remove one model. So it's kind of, obviously damage doesn't carry over, but at least it's, you know, it doesn't carry over, if you know what I mean. You're not removing 4 models because it's done 4 damage. You are removing 1 model. Likewise, of course, it says, interestingly enough, each time it suffers a mortal wound before inflicting the damage, check it's within. So again, you know, that does kind of, for me, the way it's worded is, if you suffer 3 mortal wounds, you are potentially removing 3 models from the unit within 3 inch, providing you get that 4-up, because as I've said, one is essentially if you fail a save, and the other one is if you suffer a mortal wound. So there's a slight nuance to that rule. Again, your thoughts, but that's how it reads to me. Okay, the Locus ability, is it like above, or is it taken per wound? Well, it adds a wonderful layer of complexity, the Locus ability. So for those of you who don't know what the Locus is, and I'm sure you all do by now, the Locus is this wonderful character armed with Locust blades and a hypermorph tail. Essentially, it's got some wonderful little things, rules in there, one of them being the unquestioning bodyguard. And it says each time a character model, I'm going to skip saying cult character model, you'll get the idea, other than a locus, so you can't save a locus with a locus using this, loses a wound whilst they're within 3 inches of a friendly locus, you can select one of the locuses to intercept that attack instead of using the unquestioning loyalty. So you use it instead. What do you gain from that? If you do, on a d6 it's a 2+. The character does not lose a wound, but the selected model suffers a mortal wound. And then this is the important bit, and I had 2 or 3 variations of this same question. You cannot use the unquestioning loyalty ability to avoid this. On a 1, the original model loses the wound. So you are choosing to use this instead of unquestioning loyalty. This is an important fact, though. The locus still has the unquestioning loyalty keyword. So if the locus is the target of the attack in itself, and there's no other locust within range to be able to use the unquestioning bodyguard, then you could have a unit within 3 inch take that wound under the unquestioning loyalty keyword. So you can protect the locust using it. You can't stack those abilities, and I think that answers. I think there was 2 or 3 iterations of that question, understandably so. They're relatively overlapping and similar in nature, so I get that. I'm sure there's a load of wonderful ways we can have some fun with that. Right. I'm just actually jumping down the questions. Can I look at war gear options for the Atlan Jackals a bit? Yeah, I think so. And we can probably, you know what, I think, considering I'm not showing a lot of the book, let's bring up the page for that. So give me a second here. So we've got, you know what, I am going to at least hide the Ridge Runners, otherwise I'm showing everything. So let's do this. Okay, where are we? Here we go then. So we got the Atlan Jackals. And what we're wanting to have a look at here is the war gear. So we have the Incinerator 12-inch heavy 6, auto pistols heavy stubber, which we're used to. The mining laser is slotted on there, the shotgun, improvised weapon, and power pick. More importantly, so the leader, each jackal must take 2 weapons from the weapon list. The same model cannot take the same weapon twice. Only 1 in every 4 of these models can take a grenade launcher, and only 1 leader can take the autogun, bolt pistol, or power axe. We've also got any wolf guard can take one of the following: auto pistol, shotgun, improvised weapon, or power pick, and any wolf guard can replace its heavy stubber with, of course, as we've seen in all of the photos, the mining laser or the incinerator, basically. Pretty cool. There's a wonderful little ability in there: skilled outriders, subtract 1s to hit rolls for attacks that target this unit in the shooting phase. There's also some little abilities in there that you can get rid of, essentially. Can't remember whether it's via a stratagem or not, but you can get rid of the heavy sort of rule as well, if I remember rightly, which is kind of pretty cool, particularly if you're throwing a mining laser around, or the incinerator, which is, you know, heavy d6, strength 5, -1 AP, 1 damage, automatically hitting. It's a sweetie. Right, next question. I hope, by the way, this is a very narrow audience this is aimed at. It's literally at the 20-odd people that ask questions. But like I say, the intention of asking these people was to try and find out what's been missed on some of the other reviews or questions that people are asking. So I accept the fact, as I've said at the beginning of this video, I'm not going through the whole book. I do want to visit some bits once we've got these questions out of the way and kind of talk about my impression of it. But right now I wanted to kind of make this video worthwhile to people who still have some, you know, some questions outstanding. Relic deep dive. Crikey. Okay, you want me to do a deep dive on the relics? And I did. This was seconded and thirded as well. So let's have a quick deep dive. Look at the relics. We've got, just because people were asking what are the stratagems like, there's some really interesting ones in there. I'm going to visit a couple of them. Monstrous Biohorrors as one of them I think is worth looking at. It's quite expensive. There is ways, of course. There is a character in here, if I remember quite rightly, which is the Nexus. That's really sweet, because it enables you to, you know, on a d6 each time either player spends a command point to use a stratagem while the Nexus is from your army is on the battlefield, If it was a command point you spent, there's at least one cult Primus and one cult Nexus from your army on the battlefield, add 1 to the result. If it was a command point your opponent spent, then there is at least one Clamavus and 1 Nexus on your battlefield, add 1 to the result. In either case, if the result is a 6+, you immediately gain a command point. So there is a replenishing mechanic for command points for the cult. I think that's really sweet. Bear in mind that you're going to have to see the Primus on the table, the Nexus, and the Clamavus. So that's 3 characters you're sticking on the table to kind of get that. You know, okay, characters can be targeted, but as we know, we've got the unquestioning loyalty. All of those characters indeed have the unquestioning loyalty keyword. There are ways to protect them, and therefore we've got access to a whole world of fun on stratagems, one of which, and I'm just going to fast forward, I know it's one of the last questions, and I think it might have been Nathan. No, it wasn't. Apologies, Nathan. Blaze, nope. I tell you what, somewhere in there somebody asked, basically, there's a rule out there that gives -1 to leadership of your opponent, and it does. They couldn't find out which unit it was. It's not a unit, it's a stratagem. It's monstrous biohorrors. Use this stratagem at the end of the fight phase. Select a twisted helix aberrant unit from your army. That unit can immediately fight again. In addition, until the end of the turn, subtract 1 from leadership characteristics of enemy units that are within 6 inch of that unit. So it is a unit, but it's a command ability, it's a strategy rather, that you apply to a unit, and then it creates a bubble around it. And it's 3 command points. Do they have the Vect-like stratagem? Yes, it's 3 command points, says Bob. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Wargaming Dad. Great name, by the way. Amit, what does the drill thingamajig do? We'll come back to that. No, it's not like the Trigon and Morgul, but you know, it's something along those lines. Okay, what else have we got? I'm a bit worried I've got all of my questions in a bit of a mix-up, but who cares? War gear rules, what have changed? You know, clearance, incineration. We know the changes of demolition charge, needle pistol, heavy mining laser. I covered some of these. To be honest, I've not spotted any that jumped out at me other than seeing the hand flamer up to D6, the claw at -1 AP, and the talon at -1 attacks around the metamorphs. Makes them interesting. I'm certainly going to stick them on the table and see how they do at that. The +1 attack I think is really cool, and adding 1 to hit is really cool, so let's not ignore that. And there are a bunch of stratagems which you can have some fun with as well. So what are the new tactical objectives is the next question. Crikey, right, tactical objectives all the way over. I'm just definitely checking the books over as I flip past all the points. We've got, of course, 6 tactical objectives, which are the unique. We've got lay low the oppressor, score 1 victory point if any enemy character model was destroyed by a Genestealer cult unit from your army during the turn, so you're just taking out a leader. Spread the panic and fear, score 1 victory point if an enemy unit fails a morale test during this phase. Nice. I mean, we've seen there's a stratagem. You can help with that. It's not amazing. It's -1, but it's still good fun. Spring the trap. Score 1 victory point if any units from your army within the cult ambush ability were set up on the battlefield as reinforcements during this turn. Score D3 victory points instead if an enemy unit was also destroyed by such units during this turn. Ooh. You know, certainly I think if you can say, was this cult ambush? Yes, it was cult ambush. So if you've got a bunch of Genestealer cults coming out of cult ambush and you're applying the stratagem that I'm sure, if I remember right, there's a stratagem in here that enables you to the first guess. No, there's somewhere there's I'm sure there's somewhere in there that enables you to charge. Move up to 3 of your ambush markers 12 inch. No, but you know what, because I'm not 100% certain about this. Use this stratagem when you set up a unit from your army that has cult ambush ability. When setting up the unit, you can set up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 3 inch from enemy units. You cannot make the charge, so apologies. I thought there was some way of getting that kind of charging as well. So, well, of course they can charge, but that's another story. Right, where were we? Martyrs to the cause, 1 victory point if any models from your army other than characters were slain in this turn as a result of using the unquestioning loyalty ability. Winner. particularly if you've not had to reveal your tactical objectives. And I'm pretty certain somewhere in there is a rule that says, as a Genestealer cult player, you don't have to reveal your cards. I don't know whether that's a creed or a rule. Unit. No, okay, I'll try and find that, but I'm sure I've read somewhere in there as well you have the option of not revealing your cards. So you could hide that, your opponent could shoot at characters, you could just remove someone with the unquestioning loyalty, and boom, you've just scored a victory point. Claim Dominion. So score D3 victory points if you control an objective marker that was controlled by your opponent. And the last of all, kill all unbelievers. Score 1 victory point at the end of the turn for each enemy unit that was destroyed by a Genestealer cult or a Genestealer or a Brood Brothers unit during the turn, to a maximum of 6 victory points. What a winner! What a winner! So there you go. That's a deep dive, as requested, into the victory points. All good. All good. Sorry, into the tactical objectives. What was I doing? Can you comment on any points values? I would like to know the Nexus, the Sanctus, the Kellermont point cost, if you can. Dylan T commented, so if you're in that Facebook group, go across. He commented on it, but essentially, I think the Keller's 60, Sanctus 55, 5 for the Sniper Rifle. So, yes, there are videos out there that have covered it, and there you go. It was done. So, there you go. Chris Farah asking, why is the wrong Magus on the cover? We're back to that again. Just Brood Brother rule, Tyrannid Allies rule as well, please. Well, the Tyrannid Allies appears to be... Oh, I've really messed up the order of my pages. That's just standard Allied rules. It's only the Brood Brothers that has that kind of special mechanic to it. Ken, please, this is Ken Bartels, please clarify the difference between Guard in the Genestealer decks and Allied Guard. Not keyword, all have Brood Brothers. So this is my answer. So the difference between the Guard that's featured in the Genestealer Cult Codex and then the dudes that you ally as Astra Militarum Guard. So all of the Guard units in the Codex already have the Brood Brother keyword. So they've got the Brood Brother restrictions, but they can be part of your detachment. So, because they also share the Genestealer Cult keyword. Whereas when you're pulling stuff out of the Astra Militarum Codex and sticking it in your army, it needs to come in as an allied detachment, essentially. And as I said, limited for one on those detachments. And they don't gain the Genestealer Cult keyword, they gain the Brood Brothers keyword. Does that make sense? I hope I've got that right as well. I think I have. Do not gain, blah, blah, blah. Yep, there you go. So that's the difference. Essentially, you can include the Leman Russ and the Chimera and essentially the standard Guard unit within your original detachment without fear, although they are accompanied by the Brood Brother keyword. Is there unit ability in the book that has the -1 leadership bubble affecting the opponent? Well, I've covered that. That's through the stratagem, so yes. I have completely messed up with the orders of the pages, so I'm just going to have to go back and check something. I didn't realise my notes were double-sided, so I'm going to put that page away because I've covered all of that. Can the Cult Leman Russ again squadron go up to 3 per heavy choice, or is it just 1 per choice? Right, well, the quick answer to this, I scoured the rules for it. I scoured the reference. It's on page 98. I'm just going to go check this out. The quick answer is no. There's no mention about being able to stick it into a squadron. It just says this is let me actually get you the actual wording, and therefore you're not having to just take my word for it. Cult Leman Russ is a single model equipped with a battle cannon and heavy bolter. There is no reference about, you can have up to 3, etc., etc., or they can be fielded that way. Bam! Right. Marcus Weber. Be away, Miss Pure Strange. Oh, this was a reference to somebody else's review saying Genestealers do not get the Cult Creed rule, and that was missed by one of the other reviewers. absolutely true. So just to remind you what Cult Creed, this says all Cult infantry models and biker units, infantry and biker units with this ability gain the Cult Creed, of which you've got a host to pick from. The Cult of the Four-Arm Emperor, the Pauper's Princes, the Hive Cult, Disciplined Militants, great name, the Bladed Cog, the Rusted Claw, the Twisted Helix, all of these giving in some way, either, for instance, add 1 to advance and charge rolls, reroll hits for attacks made with melee weapons in which you charge. If a unit fails a morale test, halve the number of models that flee, rounding up. In addition, units with this creed can still shoot in a turn in which they fall back, but if they do, they must also subtract -1 to hit. How cute is that? Bladed Clog. All models in this creed have plus 6 up invuln save. Already have the invuln save. Instead, improve. If they've already got one, they improve by 1 to a maximum of 3 up invuln. In addition, infantry models with this Cult Creed do not suffer the penalty for their hit rolls for moving and shooting heavy weapons. Boom! Bladed Cog is indeed what I'm going with, partly because it's the closest to my colour scheme, and I'm a bit of a stickler for choice on those things. So I painted my Eldar green. They are Bealtan. I've got literally no imagination when it comes to that stuff. That's my dudes. So the Bladed Cog are pretty much what I've got. Let's just revisit that Cult Creed rule again. Obviously, I get that benefit, but as it goes through all of this, Infantry Bikers explains how it all works. Very, very nice. If you've chosen a cult that does not have an associated creed, you can choose one that suits your army, so that's a fairly standard mechanic again. But it does say at the very end, note, due to their purely Xenos nature and physiology, Genestealer units are an exception and do not gain the Cult Creed rule. So bear that in mind. There's a question somewhere amongst all of these questions that says, are Genestealers still an auto, still an auto take, if you like? Fuck, Genestealers are just great, aren't they? So I'm always going to stick them in anyway, partly because I actually quite like them, partly because, for me, I'm a bit of a fluffy player, so I like, what I'm fielding to kind of be representative of the lore, and Genestealers are just part of that sort of 5-stage life cycle, so I think they'd be present, particularly at the point where there's an uprising. They're meant to be present. I do want to play some narrative games where the cult is at different stages, right from, a Zone Mortalis game where the first sort of dudes get infected by the Genestealer, onto much later on where you've got a full cult uprising, of which I want to come back to some of the background fluff as well, because there's some nice little stuff in there. There's some nice stuff in there about... Ooh, hold on a second. There's some nice stuff in there about how the cult works and what happens, like, for instance, if the Tyranids never show up. We'll come back to that. Tobias says... Actually, hold on a second. Just making sure I haven't missed anything. Some tips and tricks with blip system. We'll come back to the blips, if that's okay. Hopefully we'll have plenty of time. I think we will. Jesper says... Oh no, that's just asking Credence why I didn't give Genestealer cult traits, and that sucks. Something about turn 1 charges also. Bring back turn 1 charges also. Tobias says Warhammer community wrote that the CA about the CA that the cult would get turn 1 deep strike shenanigans back in the Codex when they took it away from the index exception. Do you know how they do that, or they lied to us? Essentially, yes, you can do those deep strike shenanigans in turn 1 because we're using both the deployed underground and the cult ambush rules. So I tell you what I will do. Let's do this. And I'm going to revisit that a little bit. I think this has been fairly well covered, but I'm happy to cover it briefly. I just need to get to the front of the section with all the rules. So what we're talking about here is the cult ambush keyword. You essentially apply the cult ambush in one of 2 ways. You can set the unit up underground, or you can set the unit up in ambush. If they're underground, essentially they emerge at the end of any of your movement phases. Set the unit up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9 inches from enemy models. So there you go. The rule is there. Any of your movement phases. If you are going for setting up in ambush, you place a marker. So excited about this. You place a marker. There you go. One of these wonderful... I hope I'm going to lose that now. You place a marker, and anywhere on the battlefield that's wholly within your deployment zone. So you're not anywhere now. You are within your deployment zone or so. To get a marker wholly within your deployment zone isn't really too much of an issue. It's, I'd say it's a wee bit bigger than the 32mm base. It's exactly the same size as the 32mm base. Once you've done that, it then comes into play in one of two ways, depending on who gets the first turn. So just one little thing on, if you're setting up a transport in ambush, you must still tell your opponent what units are within the transport. When it is set up in ambush, do not separate ambush markers for units that start at the battle embarked within a transport, even if they have the cult ambush ability. So yes, it's one marker for the unit and its transport. Ambush markers are not units and cannot be targeted. They cannot be attacked. They cannot be destroyed. When measuring to and from an ambush marker, always measure to the center of the marker. If you're playing a mission that uses concealed deployment, the concealed deployment rules only apply to units that do not have cult ambush ability. So there you go. Nicely said. So that's covered that. If you are playing a mission that uses sentries, sentry models cannot be set up in ambush, even if they have the cult ambush ability. And then we're just into how we reveal those, basically. If you have the first turn, you reveal all of your ambush markers, whoop, at the start of your movement phase, one at a time, before moving any units. Each time you reveal a marker, select one unit from your army that you set up in ambush, and then set the model from that unit within, set one model within 1 inch. It doesn't say wholly within, so you can be to one side. And then remove the marker, then set up the rest of the models, the unit wholly within 6 inches of the first model. So you can creep a little bit. You can go 1 inch here and then wholly within 6. So you can go 6 inches, 7 inches off to one side, I suppose, or 7 inches off to the other side or back. What you can't do if you put it right to the edge of your deployment zone is creep into your deployment zone, which they go on to say basically, no. You know, you've got to be wholly within your deployment zone and more than 9 inches from enemy models, so there is a restriction. If your opponent has the first turn, then none of your units can be set up. None of their units can be set up or end their movement within 9 inch. So you got a deployment zone full of blips. They can't move within 9 inch of you during their movement, but at the end of their movement, you can then reveal what your blips are. And here's the catch: your blips can be any of the units that you set up in ambush. So if somebody's foolishly marched forward a nice squishy unit in front of a blip, and you're thinking that's a great place to stick a Lehman Russ, or that's a brilliant place to put a rock grinder, you get all of those options available to you, which is just stunningly brilliant. There you go. Right, I hope that covers that one. A little bit of a complex one, but I think worth the visit. Thomas, Joshua says, since we're going over the rules, I wouldn't mind some fluff. Maybe some fluff on some of the other cults and the big ones with the creeds. I think there's a few things in there that I found that I thought was really cute. We've got this section on this parasitic order. Have we got this? Can I do that? Can I disappear? There you go. The parasitic order I think is really nice. There's some really cute stuff in there about each planet only has one patriarch. You know, because it's about the kind of population size. But interestingly enough, every now and then, if you've got an infestation on a host planet where the planet has just simply got so much in terms of its population, so rich in life, that say a hive is the equivalent to a planetary population, you may indeed end up with a pure strain Genestealer who's sent out to colonize that hive, becoming a patriarch in its own right. So you can end up with 2 patriarchs on the planet. That can cause lots of trouble. You can have kind of a bit of a psychic backlash between them. That means, you know, that the two gene sets essentially can end up competing for resources and essentially may come into conflict. So there is something within the fluff that says, you know, Genestealer cult does fight Genestealer cult. It happens. And there's a nice little bit that explains it away, that, hey, this is, get off my lawn. You know, there's a nice little fight going off between them. That's pretty cute. I think later on in the book, another bit of fluff that I picked up on that I really liked. Not all Genestealer cults spawned across the galaxy. So this is in this section here. The High Fleet descends. Not all Genestealer cults spawned across the galaxy meet a grisly end, consumed by the maws of terrifying creatures. No, some rise to prominence, subconsciously sending out a psychic order that attracts the biofleet, only for the fleet to be flung into nothingness by a warp storm, engaged in battle by a conventional fleet, or consumed by violent celestial phenomenons. Either way, what can happen is essentially the High Fleet never make it to the cult, and the cult just simply goes on and propagates again and again and again through the brood cycles, consuming ever more of the host planet, and essentially until it's fully claimed. So there are worlds out there with a patriarch in charge of the entire planet. Maybe if the population's big enough, this is a Genestealer cult world. You've got rival patriarchs fighting each other for resources, maybe. What tends to happen, though, is once that planet is saturated and is fully run by them, you will see that population spreading out, essentially a network of infestation that covers several systems or spanning an entire sector. So these things can get huge. I really love that. And it got me thinking about that kind of, what does that Genestealer cult society look like when there is literally no opposition on the planet, when everybody's in on that dirty secret. I kind of like that. I think there's a real opportunity if you're doing some terrain pieces or your own city board to kind of really play with just open and blasé like cult iconography everywhere, because they've just become, you know, the dominant ruling faction, and the Imperium might not see them for a millennia. So it just becomes a functioning society. I really like that. One other thing then, I think this is Thomas again just asking me to cover, you know, about those other creeds. Just having a quick look at this on page 32, we do indeed have, you know, some references of the other creeds. So we've got this Inner Worm, Behemoth Undercult, the Star Kindred, the Sons of Jorgamunder, the Blessing Wormlings, and the Cult Hydriac. So, you know, bunch of stuff in there. It does give you a little bit of information. Let's just take one of them. The Inner Worm infests the abattoir world of Fleshgate, or Fleischgate, a linchpin planet that provides the meat of Grox, Gruntox, and Bovian and a Maudlin system. Fleshgate has long been taken over by Genestealer cults. Its primogenitor organism brought to the planet inside the guts of an immature void whale, hewn apart for its meat. The cultists take their inspiration from the forearm intestine parasite they find inside the guts of livestock. For their hidden cult grows strong within the masses of humanity, ignorant of the herd. To use the saw spine wormform based in part of the meat cutting machines used in their daily slaughter is not confined to Fleshgate. It occurs on many agri-worlds. So you've got this wonderful little blade down here. Hold on a second, I'm covering it up. This blade down here, and it's actually you know, a weapon, if you like, that's used. Real nice if you're up for it. Real nice conversion opportunity. You know, you could be replacing. The fight is agri-worlds, and the sickle shape of that, I think it'd be quite cool to replace some of the cult knives with this sort of serrated butcher's tool, which looks a little bit like a sickle of some description. I thought really nice, very cool. It's nice to see a little bit of the fluff expanded in that respect. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them, but hopefully it's given you a taster of what else is available. Oh, right. Okay, then what else have we got? I'm hoping I can get to the end of this. I love Goliath trucks. This is from Paul Tonks. Are they worth it compared to the Chimera and Rust Tank? Well, the long and short of it is they are horrifically cheaper. Well, also no cheaper. So, you know, the Rust, you're looking at, you know, 120, you know, before you even start sticking weapons on it. The Rock Grinder comes in at about 70, upper 70s, 80s. So, you know, you're paying almost double for the Rust over a Rock Grinder, understandably so. The Chimera and the truck are pretty similar in prices, only 10 points apart, 60 and 50. What's the big difference, really? Well, I mean, you do have to bear in mind that anything that is not a rock grinder or a truck can only carry brood brothers. Whereas the other ones do indeed have the cult transport. So if you want to transport your neophytes or whatever, you can't stick them in a chimera. That's not going to happen. I actually did a conversion. It's miles away. I'm not going to go get it. I've converted a chimera and put it on 6 wheels instead of the tracks. You know what? I will actually stick, if I can get this up, I will stick a picture in this amazing Facebook group later, so you can have a look at that. And the idea of those is they're almost. I've done them almost like a civilian police force type thing, you know, like riot control or something like that. Right, okay. George, thanks for this. Okay, I've watched Jeff's review, but he skipped over something. Ah, right, okay. We're going to have to churn through this, because this is George Kindland, who hit me with, I think, 10 questions, 9 or 10 questions. So I'm going to do my best, because he made some effort here. Does unquestioning loyalty work so that after you have taken a wounding hit, but before you roll for damage, you can roll on a 4-up and kill? Yes, as hopefully what you heard is I covered that. It's if you fail a save, you roll it. If you receive a mortal wound, you roll it. So yes, it's based on the save, not on the multiple damage. The locus ability, is it like above or is it taken per wound? Again, hopefully I covered the locus ability for you. It is similar. It doesn't stack, which I think answers your next question. Question 3, you can't stack it. Can you roll unquestioning loyalty for wounds taken by the locus when he uses his ability? No, you can't, but you can use unquestioning loyalty to take any wounds he suffered naturally throughout the course of the game. Can I look at Wargear options for the Atlan Jackals a bit? I think I did that, didn't I? So, Relic Deep Dive I did. Oh, great news! I think I've actually covered some of these. What Wargear has changed. I talked about the hand flavors, new tactical objectives. I did. Sorry, so just to give you credit, that was all down to whoever it was that I just read out. So, all my pages have got mixed up, so there you go. Right, hold on a second. Let's just quickly do this. Can I also clarify the difference between guard? I've done that. Is there any ability with a -1 leadership bubble? I've done that. That's the biohazard, bio-horror, monstrous bio-horror, which is a stratagem at 3 command points. Sorry for the mess on this one. The printer messed up on me just before we go. Oh, right, I think I've covered all of that. Sorry for the pauses. I've covered all that. Oh, that explains everything then. So it printed out twice. I think that's covered all of the questions. So, which is good news. We're coming up to, what, about an hour? And I'd like to go back over the chat, basically, and pick up some of the questions. So if you were here for your questions to be answered, hopefully I've covered them all. I've covered a little bit of a fluff. I've covered a bit of a background. We talked a little bit about the artwork. I'm just going to have a quick flip through because I do want to show some of this stuff. There is some incredible artwork. This will be, I think, familiar to people, but it's just beautiful anyway. It's absolutely amazing. There's some stunning illustrations in here. It gets me very excited about it. And, you know, we start to see... for instance, can I bring this up? There you go. So the new Magus in there as well. Just an amazing model. One of my favourite bits of the Patriot there, just having a chow down. Clearly a hungry chap. And, you know, seeing some of this great artwork. I've got a feeling some of that was seen inside previous editions. And let's get rid of me so you don't have to put up with me. But as you can see, some wonderful little artwork on the Clamavus and the Locust. And as we can see, great work. By the way, Kellamorph, just what a brilliant idea. What an interesting concept. The idea that you genetically create essentially an urban legend. This revolutionary hero battling against the uncaring cruelty of authoritarian rule. Boom. I absolutely love it. Give me 10 of those, please. I'm pretty excited. Yeah, okay. Maybe that's hopefully good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick look at the chat to see if I missed anything or see if actually people are saying, hey, what happened there? And we'll go from there. So, crikey, right, quick catch up. Oh my goodness. Right, okay, thank you everybody for commenting before we go too far. Alkirkham, you know what, let's say some hello. So like I say, if you're here just for the buck, feel free to browse away. I don't mind, but I'm happy for you to stick around as well and catch up with the usual Monday music nonsense. So I got a bunch of the wonderful usual crowd in there. Coleman's in there managing the chat. Thank you very much. Adrian's in there. Hey Adrian, how you doing? Frank Storm, DJ the Lucky One, Amit, Daryl, Throttle him, you two top dude. What else have we got in there? Who else, rather? What else? My God, Frank Storm. Don't worry, all the stats have been revealed. Rage Spectre. So if you have 2 Metamorph Talons on one model, is that 2 bonus attacks? Well, okay. Let's have a look at that for you. I hope you're still around, Rage Spectre. And if not, maybe you'll catch it on the flip-flop, as they say. So let's have a look at this. You've got 4 hybrid Metamorphs and 1 leader. It can include up to 5 Metamorphs. Each model is armed with an auto pistol, a rending claw, a talon, and a blasting charge. So the question is you can replace the rending claw with a metamorph talon. Each time a bearer fights, it can make 1 additional attack with this weapon. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks. You got 2 of them, so yeah, that you got a base of 3 attacks. Give them 2 metamorph talons. I'm reading it. That gives you 5 attacks, because you are indeed using 2 metamorph talons, aren't you? Yes, I think so. And seeing as though it's actual options, this is 5 attacks plus 1 to hit, so you are hitting on 2s. And just to give you that again, obviously the Talon has the least impact in terms of its user strength, 0 AP and 1 damage. Don't forget that the Rending Claw delivers you the -1 AP and -4 AP on a 6, so you know you're giving that up, but it's not the end of the world. And the Claw, of course, is giving you that +2 strength, -1 AP, 1 damage as well, which is pretty sweet. So there you go. Horses for courses, I suppose. Jet Set Jimbo had to duck out. Looking forward to your take on this. Oh, I'll have a catch up tomorrow. Well, Jet Set, I will see you tomorrow, which for you will be today because you're watching it tomorrow. Frank Storm, hey, they should have put out a start collecting box. Would be nice. They tend to kind of bang those starting collect boxes a little bit after the Codex anyway. I'm not surprised we're not seeing a starting collect with the Codex. They usually do that once sales have started to calm down and they're like, hey, let's bundle some stuff up and shift it a bit more. Can you blame them? Cy Mini says Genestealer cults look very competitive. I think, and I'm hoping to find out that they are. For those of you who know, I'm feverishly working away on 2 armies at the moment. I've got my, just off camera there, my Ironif Deepkin test paint scheme going off, and I'm working on my Genestealer cult. So a lot going off at the moment, and I will know a hell of a lot more about them as soon as we start doing some battle reports with them. First army that can be used in all 40k universe IP, Kill Team and Necromunda. Would it fit with fluff across all the games? I agree. In fact, there's even mention of sort of the Necromunda, specifically of Necromunda and the Primus Hive, etc. And the fact that the secondary hive was overrun by Genestealers and nuked, but has indeed still left some Genestealers scurrying around in the bottom of the hive, or what's left of the hive. Was it nuked? Yes, I think it was pretty much nuked, because there's also nuclear mutants down there as well, so pretty messed up. If you want to have a go at building some crazy mutant Genestealer cult, would be good to see. Simon Key says, yay for my agri cult, awesome. Tabletop War James saying hi. Rage Spectre, somebody was saying Brood Brother detachments won't be able to use orders at all. Sounds more like it only restricts regiment-specific orders. That's what the rule said. Shall I check again, just in case anybody's out there going, whoa, 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 are you sure? Because that's not what people are saying. So I'll tell you what, it will only take me 2 seconds, because that is a page I can find. Okay, I thought it was a page I could find. Come on, Phil, you can do this. Where's those restrictions gone? Do not gain detachment abilities listed in Codex Astra Militarum, such as regimental doctrines, nor can they use any regiment-specific stratagems, orders, etc. Are there any orders that aren't regiment-specific? I suppose there's the general ones, isn't there? But does that come under a regimental doctrine? I don't know enough about the AM, but that is the wording for you. I will leave that for you to draw your conclusions. Comments below would be lovely. because you can, because they don't have any other weapons otherwise, says Frank Storm. Ooh, not quite sure what was that for. Evening all, says Johnny Rockstar. This is going to get confusing when playing Space Wolf players. I'm shooting my Wolf Guard at your Wolf Guard. What does the drill thingamabig do? I didn't talk about that. It does a bunch of complex stuff, to be honest. It's not particularly expensive in terms of cost. It's got a bunch of... It's basically a Sector Mechanicus structure. So before we go anywhere, those rules are fairly straightforward. So, you know, restrictions around infantry, beast swarms, etc. And, you know, that can fly, blah, blah, blah. You've got this rule, underground ingress once per turn. In their movement phase, one infantry biker unit within the cult ambush ability can move off the battlefield if all of the models modelers are on ground level and can move within 1 inch of this model. The unit cannot do so in the same phase it arrived as reinforcements. If it does so, essentially you pop up next turn. So you can essentially redeploy back into cult ambush as long as you're all on the bottom floor. In other words, you've scurried down the hole, so you all need to be on the bottom floor and within a reasonable distance of it. You can activate the drill. If you do so, it's quite complete. You can activate the drill. If you do so, roll a d6 for every unit on ground level. That's within 3 inch of the tip of the model's large drill. And on a 6, that unit immediately suffers d6 mortal wounds. It's not fun. You're dropping a big drill on their head. That's going to hurt. And then roll a d6, adding 1 to the results for each other time the drill on this model has been activated during the battle. If the total is less than 6, the seismic tremors result below takes effect. What does that mean? Until the start of your next movement phase, subtract 2 from charge rolls made for units whilst they're within 12 inch. The whole ground's wobbling. And then you've got a seismic quake, which kicks in if things get really nasty. And I can't remember what exactly kicks it in, but it's an effect up from the seismic tremor. Draw a straight imaginary line 1 millimeter in thickness from any point on one battlefield edge to any point on another battlefield edge in such a way it crosses this model, so a big massive cross around it. Roll a d6 for every unit in this line that the line crosses that is on ground level. Do not roll for units that can fly, and on a 4+, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. So you can make a right old mess of the tabletop, and it sounds like fun. Al Kirkham's late to the party. Hey Al, how you doing? Wargamer Dad says, thank you guys. Lol, Paul Drukari. Oh, that's a reference to that rule that's in there. I can see them upping it to 4 command points in the first errata, to be honest, as Daryl. Rich Morton is, hi Phil, late again. No worries, mate. Wargaming Dad, that would make sense. So a bit of a chat going off in there about that rule there. Rage Spectre says, would have been fun if Bladed Cog could take Admech as Brood Brothers instead of Guardsmen. Oh, would it not? But oh, come on, that would be crazy by then, wouldn't it? All sorts of nonsense going off. Match play restriction against first 10 deep strike only being inside your deployment zone would still apply, I would imagine. There was no reference to that. And did I not read the bit that talked about that, saying it does not apply to any of the units? That feels like it's one I should check. So here we go. I think the rule you're referring to in all of this one is... where was it? Sorry for the slight delay here, guys. There was something in there about saying any restrictions from the concealed deployment rule only applies to units that do not have the cult ambush ability if you're playing a mission that uses sentries. So it just says if you are playing a mission that uses concealed deployment. Isn't concealed deployment the binding rule that stops that first strike? But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and apologies for it. Andre says, haven't seen Sam in a while. He was on the show a bit back. Everything okay? Yes, he's taken a step back from the channel. You'll see him every now and then on chats and stuff like that. But he's kind of living in a different town now, so there's a good old distance between us. So he'll be doing his own thing probably at some point. You might see him come along. Hope so. Be good to see him back on YouTube in any form. But he'll be joining me on chats and stuff every now and then as well. So that'd be cool. Sleepy Tiger, how many blades can I take? Oh, well, as many as you can fit within a detachment, and as long as you can dupe up your detachments, I suppose. So let me just explain that. You can only have 1 AM detachment as a Brood Brother per 1 detachment of Genestealer Cult. So you're going to have to think about how you expand that up. Red Cuff's reporting in. Hey, Red Cuffs, Simon Key, Tyranny Genestealer, Deco-styled architecture with a cyberpunk favela. Awesome, mate. My idea was to channel the Spanish Civil War vibe. I like that too. Okay, look. Rafael Real says, I might get this book. You know what? It is a good book. Do get this book. And Simon Key says, Dynamanteros for the win, along with Gordia four-armed Assaulteros. That's nice. I do love that. Right, we are, I think, in fairness, probably at the end of this. What else came in the Codex? Let's at least talk about it. You have got a bunch of blips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 16, 32 blips. Along with a wonderful, my favourite thing forever. Give me that 9-inch ruler. I love them because I also play Fire Slayers. And they're really useful little things to have. So I'm pretty happy to have a 9-inch ruler. I'm pretty happy to have the blips. You get the book. The book is a decent indeed thickness codex. It's not one of these paper thin ones. It's full. There's loads of characters now. It's lots of fun and it's great. And hopefully I've covered everything you could want. Any further questions, let me know. I'll be popping, if you are a member of the Genestealer cult Facebook group and you posted questions for me, thank you very much. That really helped with the show, and it helped me understand what people do want to know and hasn't been covered, or possibly has been covered but not been spotted. So hopefully that provided some useful insight to you. And at that, folks, I am going to call it a night. I want to thank you very much for joining me. Normal service will return next week for Monday Musings. Oh, no, they won't. No, they won't, because I'm on holiday next week. I am actually... Ooh, slight news. I am now serving my notice at the business I'm at. So I need to be looking for a job and deciding what I do next. And at the same time, next week I'm on holiday, which will be good fun. And that I'm actually visiting Ralph. I think I've seen Ralph in the chat. He'll be so mad with me if I haven't mentioned Ralph and he is in the chat. So I'm going to visit Ralph, and I'm going to be taking some Kill Team with me, and we may film a couple of Kill Team games while I'm there. I don't know. It may or may not happen. I suspect there'll be a lot of talk. There'll be me possibly stealing some of his paints and bringing them back to the UK with me. You know, definitely going to pocket some of his scale 75s while he's not watching. Oh no, he might see this video now and I'll be in trouble. So I'm going to go see Ralph. You might hear from us on Facebook and stuff like that. We do not have the internet connection at Ralph's place to stream, so that's not going to be happening. But we'll hope to see you soon. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let's call it a night. Stop rambling. I'll see you in a couple of weeks on Monday Muse. And I think there's a battle report going on this week. Woo! See you later. Bye.